Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tao of the Day. Here we talk about the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written in the 6th century BC and is filled with all sorts of enigmatic wisdom on how we can live a more reasonable life. Living a reasonable life, the way I describe it, is living a life in which we're not asking others to change for us. We allow people to be who they are as they are. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you get a lot out of this work that I do. I'm really grateful for everybody that listens and all of the guests that I have. I want to thank Marianne and JK and Melissa, all who have given generously to my efforts here. If you benefit from the work that I do, and if you benefit from listening to this podcast or joining me even here on Noom Vibe, I would greatly appreciate any support that you can give me. Once again, Noom no longer supports this show, so in doing it, I require some sort of support. Would be great, just so I can keep doing it without having to do other things in order to maintain my, just keep the lights on, as they say. Okay. On from that, thank you so much for joining me. I picked a random number today, so if nobody wants to come up right away and pick a number, I'll go into and read number 45, Beware of Words with Meaning. The thing that comes up for me with this one is comparison. There have been a couple arts institutions in the area that have put people in charge, and I've been just disheartened a little bit about the choices that people make. And I'm always like, I know people that are better for this position, that can do this. And then I've been judging, in my mind, I've been judging how the leaders of these arts organizations have been working. So, that's a bit of a trigger. It's frustrating for me, right, when I see that sort of stuff. And so beware of words with meaning. Once again, this was a random one, so I wasn't expecting to talk about this at all. But I have noticed my mind kind of going, what's going on there? I do love the arts, and I do, and even though I have to kind of be like, oh, it's stupid, just like everything else, right? So what that comes to mind when I see this beware of words with meaning. Beware of how you define the people around you and what's going on. I have to be able to let go and, yeah, they did. Cool beans. Thanks for noting. But yeah, so in that, if you do appreciate this, have there are links so you can buy me a coffee. If you appreciate what I do, you can go ahead and support me that way. But either way, I have been looking at this idea that let me read Beware of Words with Meaning, and then everyone can be on the same page here. Do not define your accomplishments. To not define your accomplishments, you will always have patience to spare. To not acknowledge your fullness, you will always have space to spare. And I look at those things as comparison, right? To not compare, to not define, to not solidify, to not have a certain point to prove, and then you can be open to whatever point the universe is making. You don't have to prove it. You can just observe it. And so many of the verses of the Tao Te Ching, it says, let everything arise as it is naturally. And what it is will present itself to you rather than you defining what it is. The more you can just accept things as they are, the more they can be what they are. And in the first section of this number 45, to not define your accomplishments, you will always have space to spare. To not define your fullness, you will always have space to spare. So once you start defining your accomplishments, once you start saying, oh, I succeeded at this, I have done this and whatever, now you're setting up a measuring system. And then this is what's going to get you to the point of today was a failure. Because you can improve every day of your life. But sometimes it doesn't look like it's improvement. You know, there's that Tao that talks about stillness and integration. In order to integrate what you have learned through your actions, you need to be still. Those moments of stillness may not look as productive as the moments that you live that were super productive. And then you might feel lazy. You might feel like you're going down the wrong path. You might feel like you've lost energy. And once you start to judge, what do I say all the time? The idea that like judgment stagnates energy. And if you're stagnating your own energy because of judgment, well, then the next day is going to be harder to get sufficient amounts of energy to override it. Lo's going to join me. I will return to 45 if I have the time, of course. So, Lo, how you doing, dear?
I'm good. I missed you. I was worried for a minute.
Yeah, no, it's just, I'm around. I didn't go anywhere. They just stopped announcing and supporting this show. So whatever. I'm still here.
Oh, stop it. Well, that stop it was for both me and my dog. My dog was trying to steal my. I was also just thinking of you because I got breakfast out and I remembered what you said about how you can't eat out, and I was like, I was getting ready to click on it. I'm like, let me stuff this last bite in my mouth so it's exactly yeah, I won't. My opinion is not whatever. Yeah, but I'm glad you're still here.
Yeah, I'm around. Doing my thing. Things have to shift a little bit, and you're going to hear more pleas for support. That's all. Like every now and again, I'm just going to throw that out there, just so I can continue doing it. And if I can't, no big deal. I'll just drop off, and you'll never hear from me again.
Well, I mean, yeah, never again. You'll go back to the cave from whence you came. No, I definitely, and I was actually just thinking, I was just talking about this today to somebody else because, noteworthy in my life, I broke up with my sponsor.
Okay.
And I sound excited because it was a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But apparently she didn't think so, and I had to do it twice. And it was funny because I just had a moment. I had a very and I think this speaks of my generation, is I saw a meme, and it was that meme, and I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it's why are you so obsessed with me? And it's that's what I felt like when she called me back, and basically was I don't know, it was just weird. It was probably the most normal breakup I've ever had, in the sense that usually if I ever broke up with a guy, I was immediately be like, please take me back. And now she was the one chasing me, but yeah. But anyway, I was talking to somebody about it because one of the reasons we broke up was religion. And I was one of the things is that I'm grateful to Rachel, because even though we have a difference of opinion in religion, and even though that's not a problem, sorry, even though it's not a problem for me, it's obviously a problem for her. And I was like, but she brought me back to faith, which then brought me to, you and like this way of thinking. And it is really just like click, 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 click. So like support. Yes. High five.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, like religion. There's a lot of hard lines in religion,
Yes.
especially depending on what sect you are talking about and what sect you align with. So
the thing with it is that I think she brought into it a lot of things that weren't very AA, weren't very, and honestly, they weren't very religious, because the religion that she is does not say that she, and like I have other friends in the same religion, and they're like, she's being really extremely, I think it's more of an insecurity thing, if I had to guess. And that's the good thing, is like it finally hit me. I don't have to guess. Because I'm never going to know.
Right. Exactly. You don't have to worry. Like, it just doesn't work for you.
Yeah. And,
that's it. And you don't need this is one of the things in our world that's really difficult. If you want a reason, you can find one. And if you want to be able to, make your lists of like pros and cons and all of that, you can do that. But you don't need to have that. If you learn that it was a mistake, you will correct it. But you do what's good for you. And she's going to do what's good for her. You had to break up with her. Maybe she didn't want that. Usually sponsors don't, they would rather break up with you than, because, and we always want to be the one with the power.
Well, that was the most confusing thing about it to me, and the thing I'm still kind of head scratching about. And I'm still wondering about it, mainly because I'm curious and I like to figure things out. And this, I'm really like, huh? But like back, the first time we almost ever broke up was the first fight we had back in October. And she had implied then that she was thinking about, she's like, oh, well, I need to go to my sponsor and talk to my sponsor because I don't know if this relationship, and then in this conversation she had said something to me, and I was like, Rachel, it sounds like you don't want to be my sponsor anymore. And I was like, I don't know if you're afraid to say that because you don't want to hurt my feelings, or you don't want to make me feel put out of the program, or I was like, but you can break up with me. And I was like, and yeah. I'll be okay. Like, we can still be friends. We can still be cool. You have that right too. Right. And she was like, no, I don't. And I'm like, well, you did a few months ago, and you do. And I'm telling you that you do. So what is it? It was just, I think it was insecurity on all parts of her wanting to push a religion, and she didn't want me to leave, and her other sponsee had left her due to distance, because that is my friend, and she lives 45 minutes away, and she used to have the time to make it in town. Now she doesn't. So I think she was just, I don't know.
Let's just stop. Let's stop trying to figure her out and start looking at your experience. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you broke up with her. Good. Mm-hmm. Let's pick a number.
What haven't I gone for? I think I did 14. Let's do 17 keeps popping up for me.
17? Mm-hmm. Of Masters. What's that?
Or we could do Taylor Swift's favorite number.
Oh, I didn't know. So, of Masters and Leaders is 17. In the time of the great masters, there were no leaders. And so, let's rephrase this for your situation. In the time of the great masters, there were no leaders. So, like, for you as someone who is looking for a sponsor, there were no sponsors. Then those whom the people loved led the way. Then those who you want to engage with, you look to them to help guide you. After having created the position, after having asked this person to guide you in your path, in your journey, you start to fear your leaders. The people feared their leaders, then they despised them. They fear their leaders because they have so much control over them. They like, I have a choice I want to make. And yet, if I go to my leader, if I go to my sponsor and tell them this decision that I've made, they're going to not understand it. They're going to not understand why I'm making this decision. And yet, I'm sort of contractually obliged to tell them, to keep them informed in my journey. And then that's why you despise them. So you start to get into this realm of, I don't want to tell them, and they don't understand me. And now we're at differing odds, right? We're not on the same page. Having created leaders, so you having created your sponsor. Now, I know you didn't create your sponsor, but like you put them, once you put them in the position of, once you put them on a pedestal in your life, once you overesteem them and their ideas, their faith in Tao is diminished. Having become a leader, so your sponsor having gotten all of the praise from you and they get put on this pedestal, their trust in the people was diminished. Her trust in you was diminished because you overesteemed her. Now it's not wrong. It's just that's what happens. That's what happens when you overesteem people. They start losing trust in you and your path. They start to say, no, but your path has to be identical to my path because you're the one that put me in this pedestal. You're the one that put me on above you. So you want this. So if you don't align with religion the way I want you to, then you're not doing what I believe you said you wanted to do, which was be like me. When there are great masters, there are no leaders. There are no sponsors. She works day and night and says nothing about it. When the work is done, the people say, amazing, we did it all by ourselves. Now, if your sponsor was a master, it's kind of like your buddy, the guy who came over and helped I forget his name. Fred. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, Freddie. Yeah, okay.
So Fred is like a great master. He doesn't want to be a leader. He doesn't want to be your sponsor. He wants you to be you because he doesn't want you to overesteem him. And he's simply living by example for you. Maybe he's a sponsor to other people and maybe he has different relationships with them. But in your experience, when you get done with this and Fred inspires you to, move down your path, you're going to say at the end of the day, amazing, I did it all by myself. But you didn't. I mean, you did, because we all do it all by ourselves. However, it's the inspiration and the little nudges that you get from your community when your community is surrounded by great masters, not people that are leaders and want praise and want to be and get a hard on over being overesteemed. You know what I mean? Being overesteemed, being praised, that get to that they lose their trust in the people is diminished when they're overesteemed. So, and you want to be surrounded by masters rather than leaders, because then you will be able to mature as a master yourself. When you're a leader, you're always going to be under that leader. And I know people who have definitely surpassed their sponsors in their understanding of recovery, but their sponsor is still on the pedestal.
Yeah, to me it reminds me, I don't know, this is what cements it in my mind, because I just have to connect things to other things in order for it to focus in my head. But it almost reminds me of like when you own a business and somebody has put in like money and then somebody has put in sweat equity, and it's kind of like which one's more important. And one couldn't function without the other, but one thinks that their contribution is the most important. Oh, look at all this hard actual work I've put in. And it's like, well, that money to me equates work, and it means, like, I don't know. It makes sense to me. And yeah, I mean, it's just tricky. It's funny though, because Rachel wants Fred to be my sponsor now. And I don't know how I feel about that on multiple levels. But I told Fred, I was like, she might say something to you. I just want you to know that she said it to me too. And like, he was like, oh boy. Like, it was just such a Fred answer. Like,
Yeah, right, yeah. And that's the thing. Like that is the answer. The answer is, oh boy, let's see what happens far out. Let's ride this out. Like, but don't judge it. She's going through what she's going through. You just dropped out. I'd got Melissa and then Mark in the queue, so I'm gonna move on to Melissa. But don't overesteem, but also don't underestimate or diminish her place, and don't try to understand it. Hey, Melissa, how you doing, dear?
I'm doing well, Mark and John. How are you, my friend?
Good. I'm good. I never know. Like, sometimes there's a pause that I'm just like, oh, is something, because it's been so up and down for you. But things are seeming to be stabilizing. I don't know if that's true, but
I'm hoping things are stabilizing, my friend. I'm hoping that today is going to be that turning point, that
is today the job fair?
Is the job fair.
Oh, everybody just gotta everybody have a little prayer for Melissa.
That's right. Send me positive vibes, my
Absolutely.
friend, please.
Good luck. I hope the principal that is at the school near your house is as delightful as she seems, and is as eager as you are to help the kids and bring you in for good work, for the good work that you do.
From your lips to God's ears, my friend, I completely, wholeheartedly agree with that 100%. And that is my hope as well, my friend.
Good. I'm looking forward to hearing about it. You have a number, or did you want to just like 42? You're ready.
Yes, I'm ready. Ready, Mark, John.
42 is holding both male and female. That's balance. Tao gives birth to universes. Universes give birth to planets. Planets give birth to beings. Beings, you and this principal and everybody that's involved, give birth to everything else. The schools, the rules, everything. Tao is the great mother. All else holds both male and female. By all things embracing both, harmony is achieved. To feel alone is avoided by men. Yet, that is where no identity resides. The master holds no identity. She embraces her aloneness, realizing when she is at one with herself, she is at one with all things. With this, and with your mother living with you right now, right?
Yeah.
Is she in? Yeah, she's in you. Talk to me about what the word alone means to you at this moment.
It's funny you said that, because that's kind of what jumped out to me, is embracing my aloneness. And before I would equate aloneness with loneliness, but now I equate it with knowing myself,
Yeah.
because when I am alone and there's nobody else there, there's nothing else, I can just be, and it's that present moment awareness that, I am learning to nurture, and, be a human that's just being, instead of, thinking and doing and this, I just need to be. And, the harmoniousness, and not always fixating on things, because fixating in the past has been a habit for me. But I'm learning, that being alone you can be safe when you're alone.
Yeah. Yeah. And being alone shows you yourself, right? As you were saying, that's when you can be yourself. That's when you don't have to be a daughter. You don't have to be a teacher. You don't have to be, this or that. You don't have to be defined or judged or anything like that. You can just be you, and you can be you without all of the other distractions. Maybe some of them come in, and that's okay. Of course. But what ends up happening is you get to be you for a little bit longer. Like next time you're alone, it'll be a little longer. And then you get to get used to it. And when you step up to this principle today, you can step up. And this is the same thing we talked about a little bit yesterday. The idea you can step up and be something, or you can step up and be you. You can step up and know yourself and not be afraid. Not be afraid that you're going to get accepted or rejected. Just know that she is love just like you. And she is part of you. And so when you step up to her, don't overesteem her. Don't overesteem her position. She's looking for something. You're looking for something. And it might be a good fit. It might be. And you're looking to figure out if it is. Because she is going to affect you just as much as you are going to affect her. So it's not just her job to choose you. It's your job to see if she's worth choosing.
True facts, my dude.
And you know that not only are you going to be good for the kids, you're going to be good for the institution. And you're going to be good for the institution. You're going to be good for her. Not only for her school, but because you love yourself, you are going to be able to inspire the people that's on her team to love themselves.
Into that.
And that's going to improve the community that you live in. And it's going to improve the community that they're contributing to. And it's going to improve the lives of the children that go through the school. But that can only happen. And that's where beings give birth to everything else. This is what you're giving birth to. And this is part of all this. And if you're open to receive, and if you're also cognizant of your role in this, because if she's bad and her school is quote unquote bad, meaning that it doesn't align with you, that might be a place that will overpower you. And so you're going to want to ask her questions about the things that matter to you. And if she is open to that, then you guys can come together and birth something new. And there'll be a balance. There'll be a masculine and a feminine, right? A male and a female, a structure and a substance. You have ideas of the substance that you want to bring to your class. She has ideas of the structures, how she wants it done. You have ideas of the structures that you want done, and you're both going to have to come together to balance all of that. Now, you don't want to go there and be in this structure and feel like you are alone. You want her support in all of this. But when you come here today, like, you want to know who you are. And when you step in, and when you meet her, you're going to just smile and be radiant as you are. And she's going to see that. And it's just gonna fill your heart to connect with her. And remember, you're gonna be connecting with her in more ways than just physical. So feel in your body when you're connecting with her. And just be like, oh, I'm connecting with you. And connect with her deeply. And see what she has to offer. Because if there's a lot of goop, if there's a lot of tar, if there's a lot of things to like crawl through, and just observe it. Don't judge it. Observe it. And observe what you say. Observe how you feel.
Great advice, my friend, as always.
You know, let yourself be guided.
I am open to being guided. I am open to seeing what happens.
You know, the last couple lines in here are realizing when she is at one with herself, she is at one with all things. You are here. And when you step up, you're going to be there too. When you, like, you are her. She is just showing you herself. Now, if you start getting triggered by things she's saying and stuff, okay, be triggered, but just be curious.
Let's not be triggered.
Well, no. If it's fine, if it is, because maybe those are good things. Maybe it's good for you to be triggered so that you can learn. You don't want to hit her in the face.
No, I definitely don't want to do that.
Let's take that back a notch. But you know, like, who knows what's going to happen? You might step up to her and just blossom. And you might step up to her and collapse. And those are going to give you information about yourself. And it doesn't matter which one's which. Because in the end, you're going to be cared for. This is a collaborative experience, your life. You know, and as you go into that experience, you know, Tao is the great mother. You're birthing things through male and female. And so you gotta recognize that there's a good and a bad. Once you have a good, you have a bad. Once you have a preference, you have something that you don't prefer. It's like everything else holds both. Tao is the only one that's the great mother. It doesn't have anything. It doesn't have any concern. There is no need for Tao to balance. We hold both male and female, so we need the balance. And that can create judgment. That can say, oh, well, if I'm triggered, that's bad. Well, maybe not. Maybe she wants a feisty person. You don't know.
Well, if she does, I definitely fit that bill.
And if you suppress that part of yourself, because you think that's what she wants. You remember yesterday we talked about etiquette. It's like, because you think the right way to go is this. But if you're inspired, be present. Feel. Just observe yourself talking to her rather than talk to her. It's an interesting place to be if you can be there. If you can get to the place where you can just observe the conversation rather than be embroiled in the conversation.
I like that.
That way it's not like it's not you, you're innocent. You're doing things and you're saying things like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I just observe myself while I'm here. During Tao of the Day and other conversations I have, I just kind of step back a little bit and just observe. I was just like, oh, wow, that was a good thing to say. How did you know to say that? I don't know. It just came out of my mouth. It's just something that got said. It's just being open to being me. And as it says at the end, no identity. She embraces her aloneness. And when you're there talking to her, you're going to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
Realizing when she's at one with herself, she's at one with all things. So nothing can hurt you. And they want what you want. And you will find it. It might not be with this one person. Hopefully it is, because I want you to not have a commute. But not having the commute is less important than your fulfillment, than your happiness, than your abilities to succeed at what you want to do. Your ability, like, there might be the people that you are going to touch in the coming years. That is what this is setting up. It's not your next job. It's literally hundreds of children.
Mm-hmm.
So they all have pre-karmic buffets that they're trying to align with, and you're in collaboration with life so that it's set up properly, so that they can change the world, and that you can by doing that. This is what, when the Tao talks about immortality, this moment is going to make you even more immortal, because you are going to be affecting the people, whether it's at this school or the next school or wherever it is. This moment is affecting generations.
Well, thank you again, my friend. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will definitely let you know how this plays out.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a wonderful conversation. We're going to bring up Mark. Mark, it's been a while. How you been, man?
With your long-term partner that you've overesteemed for reasons you didn't understand.
What was that?
I said it's hard to split up with someone you've been with for nearly 20 years that you have this dynamic. I understood, but not so much with the clarity.
Yeah, it's hard. Things change. Once you put someone, once you put someone on a pedestal, it's hard to take them off.
The tricky thing is, I've done this pedestal thing my whole life. I didn't know it. It's kind of like the Catholic upbringing. You do that, but I split with my other wife in kind of in an inappropriate way with this wife, and that set up this overesteem. Like, I need somebody to take care of me, to help me do what I need to do. And that's not right,
Yeah, no, that's not their responsibility, right?
No, of course not. And it causes a very stressful relationship, especially if you're a person like me that has bipolar and manic episodes. Then it's like you get into this stew of stuff,
It's true. Yeah. Yeah, I
did want to talk maybe for your listeners for a minute. What exactly happened? I did some research recently on. First, I stumbled upon this app. Since a little kid, I understood that wisdom is far more important than smarts. So I've always paid attention to wisdom since I was very, very small. But I stumbled upon the app. I'm like, wow, this is great. And then I've used it a bunch, like most people that are on this platform. And I tried to figure out, well, how do they make any money? And who is this? And so I did some research, and it's like, well, we know how they make money. They sell you diet stuff on Noom. So they try to sell
Noom. So Wisdom wasn't Noom. So Wisdom was an app that wasn't, I can't imagine, profitable.
Right,
but
right, exactly.
Noom,
That's why I looked at it. It's like, man, this is the most valuable app out there, and how do they make any money?
right, and I believe Noom wanted to get a pedometer, but I think that they wanted to have a pedometer, like a step counter that was attached to conversations that you can have. So you can go walking with me. So you can go out for your walk in the morning and you can listen to Tao of the Day, and you can go out for your walk and listen to a podcast on a live podcast on, and the idea, I think, is that, we're going to have these coaches talk about health and talk about diet and talk about exercise and talk about all these things while people are walking. And I think that's nice. And I know a lot of people like JK and others have, just used this app while they walk. They can listen to this, and I think that's great. I don't promote keeping your, I don't promote keeping your diet, counting calories. I don't promote all those things. And so it's a little bit off of, it's a little bit off from what Noom wants to achieve. And so I absolutely understand them not wanting to support this show. So, I'm not, it's a business decision, and I understand that. And I'm not going to, I'm not a kind of person who's going to start to tell my audience to count calories because it is, because I have integrity. I want to embrace all that I'm about, so I don't mind them not, it does mean that if I'm going to keep this, I'm going to do it every day, that I do need some support. And I want to thank Melissa and JK and Marianne for buying me coffee, quote unquote, from that, from my links. And I appreciate you guys keeping this going, because as long as, because there will be a point where it's just like, I have to do other things, and this show might fall by the wayside. But staying consistent is one of the things that I love doing. So as long as I can stay consistent and do it, I'm going to be here and doing my thing.
So a couple of questions. I we haven't talked about my background, but I worked in finance for 25 years. I was at the top level, and I chose not to pursue a path of wealth, even though I could have. But because I know a lot of stuff and I know a lot of people and I am a finance person, I could probably help you, I don't know, just do a regular podcast and then get people to advertise on there for stuff that you like.
Yeah, this not my game. At the moment, that's not.
That's fine. That's fine. I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. That
just sense. I could probably change this up and then get supported by Noom again. If I wanted to, but I'm not.
I understand. I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I would prefer just to do what I do and align as it aligns, rather than try and, because I'm not, they told me, my response was okay. Whatever. I didn't even ask him why. I understand why. It's and I don't care.
Yeah, I got you. That makes total sense. It's totally consistent with you. It makes sense. What's different, I have this, let's just call it a business. And it's this framework of how, I'm writing this book, and it's alphasignal.com, which used to be a finance thing my entire career. And it fit with finance, but now I'm doing this personal development thing. But anyway, this Tao stuff is super instrumental at the core of the key stuff of this big framework. Anyway, my approach is different, and what I want to do, and I've thought about this for decades now, I want to represent who I am as honest and straightforward as I can, but I want to go big, and I want to make money, and I want to sell it, and I want to just do it. But I have a 100% respect for the only way you'll succeed is if you approach it like you're saying you're approaching this relatively small thing that you're doing, right? Mm. So anyway, I'm totally sympathetic to the material that you promote, but I also have kind of this different vision because of who I am and how I was raised and what I did about business and all that.
So all of that story, you do, you have a different vision, and that's great. And it might, you may only have a different vision simply because you're under the influence of how you were raised and
100%. I get that.
Right. So it doesn't have anything really to do with a different vision at all. It just has to do with you're doing this now. And when that is, when you're done with that, you're going to do it until you don't.
Right.
It goes back to that, right? Like you currently like that you're doing these things. There may be a time where you find yourself not liking that you're doing it. And if that happens, there's going to be some reckoning, because 100%. Then you're going to have to be like, well, why? But this is what defined me. Right. How can I not like that which defined me? And that is, that's the work that I do, right? Like it's like, okay, well, it's fine that you like that you're doing this, but if you define yourself by liking that you do it, now you're in this cycle of bias. Right? Yeah. You have an identity and you support that identity by doing what you do. So you do what you do to continue to support that identity so you can solidify that identity so that you can do what you do. Now you're in this cycle of constantly being under the influence and
I understand. I've understood this for decades. Let me just tell you a story real quick. Radiohead's most favorite or most popular song, this is Creep. And they came out with another song on their later album that was called My Iron Lung. And what the point is, everybody always wanted them to play Creep. For years, they wouldn't play it because they hated it. And they go, we're not defined by this one stupid song. We're not doing it. And so it's so rich of a metaphor to say My Iron Lung. We don't want to just keep singing that same song. I've thought about this for 30 years. And I don't want to do that either. But I have to represent what I feel. Right. And I feel
absolutely.
Anyway, what I would say is I had this mental break, let's call it, whatever it was, this spiritual experience, this enlightenment thing, whatever. It happened when I was 28 and it just made me feel differently. And I felt this overwhelming compassion. And then since then, 30 years now, I've said, well, how might I share some of this? So at least some of this great feeling that I've felt can be understood, the place it comes from. And then it gets back to the Tao and that stuff. It's like, well, that's it. That's what I felt. That's what I understood. It's not about me. Right. It's all stupid,
Absolutely. Let's pick a number.
I want to just do random because these things are like magical how they happen. The 42 and other stuff. It's like, oh my God. So random is perfect.
So 24, which is interesting because the last one was 42. So we keep the 4 and the 2s and we just kind of said.
There's a lot of interesting shit out there, that's for sure.
Yeah. So number 24 is entitled Do What Is to Be Done. And so this I mean, I know this verse, but it is definitely talking about like do what you do. And, which means, if this is what you're identified with, this is what you're identifying as, this is who you are because of how you were raised and all of these and all of this, do it. It's fine. However, it says, standing on tiptoes robs you of firm footing. Yeah. Rushing ahead robs you of knowing who you are. Looking at yourself robs you of seeing. Boasting of yourself robs you of your brilliance. Overpowering others robs you of your power. Clinging to your work robs you of longevity. If you want to align with Tao, just do what is to be done and then stop. See, the thing is even let's look at divorce. I mean, I know you're going through this right now.
Sure.
When you're in the process of going through a divorce, that there are things you can do, but then sometimes they do something that causes you to do something.
Well, I just think of tit for tat. I've said those words 100 times.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is what this is, right? It's like if you're just going about and saying, okay, well, look, I want this to be amicable and and then they start to, well, then all of a sudden you're standing on tiptoes. They stand on tiptoes, you stand on tiptoes. So they rush ahead, you rush ahead. And all of this is robbing you And maybe it's because of fear. Maybe it's like, I don't want to be the one left holding the bag. Maybe it's, I don't want to be, but all of that is coming from judgment. It's all of that is coming from like you feeling like they're an enemy, maybe you feeling, or them feeling like you're an enemy, and they're doing things so that you can feel pain. And so that now you want to do things to make them feel pain. And all of that kind of happens. And this is just saying, just do what is to be done. If it's just like, look, this is okay until you step on my toes, then I'm going to respond. And
plus,
here it's just
there's some family dynamic stuff where some people are fighters, right? And some people aren't. They just shy away from fighting. They're uncomfortable. Other people, the more challenged they are, the more they feel this internal need to be the winner. And if you're with somebody like that, the tit for tatting stuff gets absurd, you know?
It does. And I've seen it. I've never been divorced. I've never been married, but
You've had friends.
I've had friends. I've had family. I've seen my mom get raked over the coals. I've seen my sister rake other people over the coals. I've seen, and I've seen it happen. And it's disgusting, really, from the outside, being like, oh, do you really
most
need
disgusted
to do
when
this?
you do it yourself. That's the case for me.
Well, I'm sure. Where it's just like, oh, no. I'm gonna literally not be nice. And
exactly.
This is a point where it's just like, look, I don't like that I'm doing this, but I'm going to go ahead and not be nice because that's what I'm doing right now. And that's who I am. And this is what it's saying. Do what is to be done. Meaning, if you cannot stop not being nice, right? If you cannot stop the idea that you're going to be an ass, go be an ass. You've been an ass before. You're going to be an ass again, and recognize that you're being an ass. Don't shove it under the rug and say, no, that's not what I'm doing, and I'm doing this because she did this. No, she did this, and I want to fucking get back at her, so I'm going to do it too.
Right.
And say it. Just say it, because then you have to face it. And when you talk to somebody else and you're like, no, I'm just being a dick. And then when it comes back to bite you in the ass, but somewhere else, you can be like, well, I was a dick. She's free to be a dick too. It doesn't always, and then you realize how stupid it all is. And then you can be like, okay, I'm doing this because I want to get back. I'm doing this for revenge. We see it everywhere, and it's just like, admit it. Admit you want revenge. That way you can get over it a whole lot faster.
That's beautiful. That's wonderful. Hey, I'll talk to you again, but thanks. This is great. And
Absolutely.
Your show, you'll have more listeners than Noom thinks you'll have.
Whatever they want, they can have. I'm here doing what I do.
That's perfect. See ya. Talk to you later.
Thank you guys so much. Absolutely. Thank you. JK is going to join me. JK, thank you so much for supporting all that I do. I appreciate you, man. JK, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Nice morning.
Good. It's a nice morning.
That's good. You out walking?
I am now. I woke up very late. I went to bed at I don't know, way before 8 last night. I was done with work and I was just tired. So
yeah, well, it was about time. You've been traveling. You've been lots of stuff. So I'm glad you got some rest.
Yep.
So
I woke up really late.
That's all right. Do what is to be done. Just sleep. It's okay. And sleep and then get up and get your walk in. I haven't taken a good 5-mile walk in quite some time, and it's going to have to happen soon. But I haven't prioritized it. But it will get prioritized soon.
Oh, very good. So when I got up and you had just said something about words with meaning, so I wondered if we could read that one.
45, I think, was that words with meaning?
I don't know.
Beware of words with meaning. Yeah. 45. That was my random number today. And I was talking a little bit about hearing about a new director of an art center here, and I was really just sort of disappointed with the decisions. And these are judgments, and that's really kind of how this lays out a bit. Do not define your accomplishments. You will always have patience to spare. Do not acknowledge your fullness. You will always have space to spare. When we define something as straight, we see how crooked it is. When we define someone as skilled, we focus on how clumsy they are. When we call a speech eloquent, we notice the stammering therein. The master needn't define things. What they are will arise naturally. By removing herself and her need to know, she can see Tao express itself fully. That's, that comes up. I think I was talking to Melissa about that a little bit today too. The idea that look, just observe this principle that you're going to go talk to. And you don't need to know what she's thinking. You don't need to know what she needs. You can just be yourself and everything will come to you. If you can just allow yourself to be you without being influenced by who you think she wants you to be, you will be who you need to be at that moment. And you're going to say the right things at that moment.
I agree with that. Because once you get stuck in that trying to be what they want, you realize that you're wrong because you realize that you're trying to know something that you really don't know. So you're just putting an assumption in there, It's a story in itself.
Right. And you couldn't, and this is why we always talk about living in collaboration, because you can't know. I don't know what you're thinking. I mean, I could talk about okay, I have this information and I can, get all the red yarn and connect all the things and be like, she is thinking this right now. And even if I could express what it is you're thinking with words, the words that I'm using and how I define them is still different than how you would define them. And if you were like, oh yeah, that is what I'm thinking, even if we were to agree on that. Because how many times in our relationships in our lives have we agreed with our partner and still never came to a consensus?
Yeah, very
because
much
we
so.
could agree in words, and yet it's not what we thought we were agreeing to. Because we don't have the words.
Well, we talked about, I don't know, this was months ago, I think, but we were talking about when you look at the word love in Spanish versus the word love in English, there's lots of pieces to love, but we only have one. And so that,
Right.
that often gets misconstrued. That's all I was thinking.
Yeah,
About.
Go on.
No, I don't have anything else.
Oh, okay. When I do my work, I put the caveat out there for anybody that that English is a second language. I say I really only prefer. Now we could work together. However, it's difficult if English isn't your first language, or it's not one of your, if you grew up in an English and Spanish household, English is fine. Or English and whatever else household. I don't know. Spanish is because I live in Chicago. It could be Polish. I mean, whatever. Because there's a lot of Polish people here in Chicago too. But it's because those words have meaning. And the thing is, meanings are all abstract. I know we have tried to define things. We have definitions, we have dictionaries, and we have encyclopedia, and we have all of these things. And that's great. And I'm grateful for those things. However, each word has a definition. So if we use words to define words, those words have definitions that we now have to agree on, but we can't really agree on because they're still abstract. Love is abstract. Yes, we can talk about it and we can whatever, but there are different ways to express what love is. But is love something that can be expressed? And if somebody uses certain words to describe things, when I was younger and I was driving around and I used the phrase, they're not paying attention, for everybody that was cutting me off, right? It's like, wait, no, actually, I don't know if they're paying attention or not. I'm just putting that on them because that's me. I'm the one doing that. And that becomes the big sort of thing where it's just like, oh, this is who I am. I'm the one doing this. And those words have meaning. Like, and if I can get to the bottom of their meaning, I can understand myself more. Because once we define something as straight, we see how crooked it is because we defined it. Once I defined getting cut off as people not paying attention, I defined it. So now, but where was that definition initially? It was within me. It was within my experience. It wasn't out there in the world first. It was within me first. And then I defined what they were doing from that experience.
And I'll tell you why that word that stuck out to me when you said beware with words with meaning is because I had some vivid dreams last night, and usually when I have vivid dreams and I wake up, I usually do my journal. And I had to get up because I was supposed to have an appointment this morning. So up I went and got dressed and got the dog. And then as I'm just going back, the meeting got canceled. So, but that's why I kind of said, I wonder, because I don't know what it means. I haven't looked at it. And when I say means for me. So that's why when you use those specific words, I was like, and that's why when meeting got canceled, I wanted to go through because I haven't unpacked it yet. It'll be interesting to see what I remember of it. Now that my body's moving and stuff is lost, I'm not connected to that state anymore, but that's the way it was supposed to be. So that's the way that's the way it is.
That's the way it is. Yeah. And there's nothing, and again, just like I was talking to Mark on 24, that idea of, I'm going to open it up really quick, doing what is to be done. You just if this is the experience you're having, that's good. You do this experience. And if you forget it, oh, good. Far out. I forgot. No big deal. Let it go. And if I need to know something from that, I trust that it will inform, I will be informed of what I need to know. I'm not afraid of not knowing what I need to know, because what I need to know I will remember what I need to remember. And if it keeps coming back and I keep forgetting it, well, then maybe I'll write it down. Do what is to be done and then stop. You write it down and then, I remembered it now, or whatever.
If I'm being observant and doing all the things that, I've been doing, I'll see it again.
That's right.
I think I told you, I have stuff that has repeated for decades in little ways. And if I'm being a good scientist, I will observe it for the first time again.
That's right.
So that is the way I look at it. Yeah. I don't think too much about, but if something piques my interest, or if I hear something and I'm like, and then there's an opportunity, I try to take it, and then I'll see how it applies later. Because usually it does, and often in different ways than I initially saw it anyway. So there's always layers for me anyway. Yeah. There's always layers.
So, there's layers, and that's the thing. Tao is always returning. It is also always yielding. That's the thing. Each layer, just like an onion or whatever. The thing about an onion, it's weird. I'm going off on a tangent now in my mind. I'm always torn about the symbolism of an onion, because every layer is the same. Every layer, it yields to a new layer of the same. No matter, you never get to a layer that is not onion. It's all onion. It's one layer of onion on top of another layer of onion on top of another. And this is like life. You go through these cycles, and it's the same, but it's different, right? It is a different layer. It is a different layer of this, of all the same makings, and when you grow, you make a new layer, and it's like it's always yielding, and it's always, returning. It's returning to the same thing. And so you're going to have this experience again, but you get better, you get more depth at having the experience, at yielding to the experience and letting the experience happen, living in collaboration, doing what is to be done, not defining your accomplishments. Just they happen. So what? It's going to happen again. Do I have to celebrate every accomplishment I mean, sometimes it's nice to celebrate, especially if you haven't celebrated and judged yourself your whole life. But there is a point where celebrating your accomplishments becomes a bit of a bore. And like, okay, yes, I did that. Yes, that's nice.
Of course, I'm fabulous. Come on,
right? And it's I don't have to sit here and pat myself on the back because I did something. I did something because what else am I going to do?
Yeah. Well, it has a purpose. I think, in sometimes, we talk about getting acknowledged for something,
Yeah.
at that time, realizing that encouragement is needed,
Right.
or for whatever reason, but then at some point, distinguishing whether that is something you need or can you rely on yourself to know what you are, whatever that is. And I think it's just those we're just talking about nudges or something. But sometimes you need a nudge. Sometimes there's a need for that. And that helps just kind of get you to
Absolutely.
where you're going. And if you don't acknowledge it, you might not get that, that nudge to go in that direction.
And that's exactly what I'm doing with trying to get support for this program and to continue doing that, right? I do want people to find it useful, and I do want people to find, and I want them, and I'm asking for people to, show that, like in a quantitative manner, right? And so, yes, those things are important, and it is great to be cognizant of, where those things go. And if they don't show up, like, you have to make sure that, like, you are doing the next thing, whatever that is, right? Do what is to be done.
Because maybe you're being nudged to do that anyway.
Absolutely.
And just don't overlook it. Yeah. And I hope people do support you. I mean, I like this. This has helped me, and it's interesting, from a holistic standpoint. I mean, I do listen to you when I walk. I also walk without listening to you. I just walk. I'm just a walk. I just like walking.
Yeah, me too.
But that, I'm going to be off.
No, you can come back up. It's always funny when we get to the end of that, and it's like, we give up those last 5 seconds because we're like 5, 4, 3. Oh God, I got
all the time. I always.
Yeah.
Oh man, I got to get on that. That's a theme. But I forgot what I was saying. Oh, the walking. But see, and it's funny, the things for weight loss and healthy living and all that stuff, things we're told we need to do. I was always told, eat 5 small meals a day. Eat this. That doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for my body. Then, fast forward, I have an autoimmune disease. Well, even my doc, she's like, you need more greens and fiber. And I was like, yeah, I have to be mindful because I don't feel good when I do that. Like, and so it's not anything. It is what it is, and I just honestly, like, what works for one doesn't work for everybody. And so when you have a variety of different options, and not everything, you can't put everything on the menu, but certain things that and getting feedback first before making certain decisions, I think is helpful to see what that does. Because, this speaks, like, I lost more. I mean, I've been stuck I got on the scale today for whatever reason. It's like, oh, I lost like 5 pounds. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know why. I've been the same weight for months,
I
and I'm
would,
not doing
yeah,
anything different.
well,
But
I
know.
think that shows like this one, which gets you to love yourself,
Yes.
rather than do more for people to lose weight than giving you tasks.
I can't listen to their tasks anymore because they don't work for me. But yet I'm
Right.
still being successful in that part of my journey. But it's
Right.
because, like you said, I'm able to. I mean, I went to the doctor recently, and I didn't tell you this. At my blood works, I mean, my weight's very low comparatively. Not very low for. I mean, I'm supposed to be like 100
I
pounds with
understand.
my
Yeah.
height. That's not going to happen. Maybe it will, but it's not. It's not something I'm striving for.
Right. Good for you.
But the my blood pressure is the lowest it's been in forever. All of it is like, she was astonished with from a year ago where I am now.
Yeah, and
And
it's literally coming from you.
yeah, and it's not. I did start off. I mean, I did start off. Obviously, I mean, I did encounter Noom, right?
Yeah, of course.
At some point, and I did use Noom, and I did count my calories, but that has never been long-term sustainable for me.
Right.
It's not something that I enjoy doing. I don't really. It's really like, I work with this other woman, and we've kind of been doing this together, and we've done a couple of different things. They offer classes online, but like, you talk about the portions on the plate and the this and the that, and how much meat you should eat and all this stuff. And like, a lot of that doesn't work for me. I mean, I'm not as strict as you by any means, but a lot of that doesn't work for me because there's stuff that I don't eat because I don't like eating it. And if I do eat it, I know I'm not going to like that I ate it yesterday. If I have Oreos, I'm going to feel like crap because I literally do. It brings my whole everything down, and I feel like my stomach is sick. Like, I don't feel well when I eat that stuff. So I try not to. And the more that I love myself, the more I don't want to. And so, like you said, the show and the stuff that helps promote that spiritual side of it, whether it's, not like a religion, but that part of that holistic healing, that's so important. That's such an important piece of, I think, this journey.
Yeah, I think I think that part of the journey is more important than most people realize. I think that part of the journey, like I think, and this is just me. I'm not a doctor, not whatever, but
But I agree with you because I've been, I mean, as a kid, and food has always been a thing for me. Like, I was always, I was raised in a spot where I was alone a lot.
right.
And the thing is when you're alone a lot, what do you eat? It's fast crap. Like, my favorite thing was, you remember the bologna? I don't know if Oscar Mayer, if it was like deli bologna, but bologna is, all kinds of terrible. But I used to put it in the microwave, and it used to go like a canoe. It used to, because when the microwave was cooking it, it would curl up, and it looked like if you curled your tongue. And I
didn't know. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, you didn't get left with bologna. But that's what I would do. I'd put it in the microwave, and it'd curl up like a canoe because it would just fry, essentially, right? All the water molecules being sucked out of it. And I'd eat all of it, like a lot of bologna. And so you can imagine my weight wasn't fabulous, or kid cuisine meals.
Kid cuisine. I remember kid cuisine. So I used to work I used to be in charge of the frozen department at a grocery store for many years. And I remember kid cuisine. Those blue, there was the penguin,
the blue tray
on
and the penguin,
blue,
fucking kid cuisine. But that's the stuff I ate.
Yeah.
ratty old chef boy. I didn't really
I
like
was,
that, but
I was putting that in, and this was still during a time when the frozen dinners or those microwavable dinners was still expanding. So I would have to like literally restock the shelf so that I can fit more banquet dinners, more, more of those like lean cuisine and, kid cuisine and all of these. And it was just like there were, I don't know how many doors. There was probably over 10 doors of just like boxed dinners, those things. And
yeah.
I remember like just putting them in the, frozen.
Yep. That's what I would eat. I mean,
And they were all like all these different things. So they're all the same box, but they're different meals. And then people would just throw them back in when they pull them out. No, I don't want this one. I don't want the roast beef.
because they all
that's
tasted
trauma.
Because you got to sort them, but they all tasted the same.
Yeah,
They really didn't taste much different from each other.
Yeah, I haven't. Like,
ugh.
I don't. It was right around that time that I got rid of my microwave. It's like, so that was 20 some odd years ago. Like I got rid of my microwave before I quit drinking. And I was like, microwave, that'll kill you. I'll have but I'll go through a fifth of vodka a day.
That won't do it though. Yeah, no, it is interesting, but that's how I kind of was raised on that kind of food. And I'll say my diet journey, I don't know how many years ago. I mean, I was in my 20s, so a long time ago, started with this redefinition of what is nutrition, because I didn't know what actually was nutrient versus non. I had no concept of it. And that was that. I mean, it was what it was, but I started with a dietitian, and and it was funny when I moved away from each thing that I've tried, finding out a little bit more about myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being able to, one of the things before I worked with you, or when I first started, there was a thing that happened where I was in the shower. I guess I forgot to turn on the light. Must have been rushing. And I got in the shower, and one of the things that triggered me was, I don't know what came in for something. Somebody came into the bathroom. I was like, can you turn on the light? And they're like, oh, I thought you wanted this. I thought this was one of the weird things that you do. And I was like, another one of the weird things that I do? I was like, oh man, like, and I thought like, oh, is this real? Like, am I really going to do this? And it made me look at, what I was doing, whether it was the work with you or the spiritual journey that I started, or, all of this. And I was like, is this really me? Or is this just another weird thing that I do? And I had to look at that, because that really did, like, at first I tried to blame the person. Of course, why don't you know me? Why is this? But when I looked at it, it wasn't just another weird thing that I did. Like, and, I had to say, I am not another weird thing that I'm doing.
Right.
at some point, because that's where it ultimately ended up. So, it's pretty interesting as far as this aspect of it and how it fits in. And, it fits into, like, they're looking at too, like with my kiddo and her pain syndrome, these types of things they incorporate into her rehab now with the children, because they're starting to see how significant it is, the significant impact of that piece of our journey on pain management, weight loss, all the things. It has to be holistic, because we're not just our weight, and we're not just our minds either.
Yeah, we're not.
And it has
just
to kind of come together.
Yeah, we're not just mechanistic things that are just like, oh, A plus B equals C. No, that's not true. That's not how this works. I mean, I know it can seem that way. It could seem for some people like A plus B equals C. And I get that. But that's their journey. Yours is completely different. And so, like, you might be able to get A plus B and get C.2 or C.3, or, I mean, maybe you do A plus B and get nothing.
Mm-hmm.
and really, I think, this is why, even though I do energy work, I won't do just energy work. You have to work with me for my whole thing in order to get energy work from me. Because if I do energy work with you, it's just a crutch. It's just a crutch, and you're going to be back. And literally, I want you out there living your life. I don't want you to keep coming back to me. I don't want my financials attached to your health.
Yeah.
Because if I do that, then I feel like it's unethical to be like, well, if you heal, like I have a holistic doctor who's just like, oh, you're squeaky clean. And I was like, okay, great. So what's next in terms of it was like, well, we can do cranial sacral. And I was just like, what? You're just reaching into your bag of tricks? Like what to keep me here? I'm like, no. I mean, with the, like I've had cranial sacral, and if I want some, I know people that can do it, or I can come to you. But that's not something that I asked. I'm asking what's next in terms of maintaining my squeaky clean, my squeaky clean disposition right now. And then we found out that I'm not so squeaky clean. Oh, good for him, and that makes me go, all right, I'll ride this out. But I'm starting to kind of doubt your sincerity, and maybe it's not, maybe I have no reason to doubt his sincerity, but it's not healthy for me to align myself with somebody's health and and them paying me. That's why when I work with people, it's like, okay, you're going to be with me for these 4 sessions and that's it. And I mean, there are those other optional sessions and stuff, but it's not something that is going to go forever. I want you out there living your life and living as you are.
Yeah, you want, and you're able to notice, hey, I don't need that because because of the fact that you know yourself. And when you were talking about, I think you did 17 with Low, when you're having an organization that you're not trusting the person to do what they need to do. So I don't want your, XYZ, whatever your formula is.
Right.
But maybe I want something else. But trust me to do what I am. And if I believe in you, I'll be with you.
Right.
And I'll be with you and commit to you, because that means more to me than, you're a dime a dozen. It's like the dentist. Like, to find a real dentist is, anyway. Yeah, I know. I have that too. I mean, I came here, my first encounter when I moved out of New York was a dentist, and I had oh, you have gum degeneration. And I was almost, God knows, 20 years ago. I don't have gum degeneration, but they were trying to get me to pay money I didn't have. And it's a whole thing, but
yeah, and health and pharmaceuticals and all of that. Like, I don't want to align with that. So that doesn't mean that it's not okay that they're doing it. It's not okay.
It's just fine. Not you.
It's just not like, and I'm not going to be, and that's why I have to be open to receiving meds for my MS, because maybe it is, and it's okay. Thank you so much for joining me. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Absolutely. Love you. We'll talk soon.
Yes, bye.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to be signing out. Dr. Robert reached out. I'm going to send you the text for that one that you wanted. Thank you so much. If you value what you get here on Tao of the Day, please, and, if it gives you a moment of peace in your day, or if these teachings bring you any insight or clarity, I invite you to support this show. Since Noom has decided to no longer support it, I want to be open and let you guys know that I'm open to you supporting me and this show. So if you do find these things useful, please, I do rely on contributions from yous and from those who appreciate this work. So you can support me directly through Buy Me a Coffee. It is an easy way for you to keep everything going. Every contribution makes a difference for me, so thank you so much. You can find links in my profile. in your generosity. And thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Marianne. Thank you, JK, for being supporters of this program. And that just helps me continue to share the Tao and to keep this kind of wisdom alive and keep you moving on your journey. And thank you for being part of this journey. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.